Hello, hello. I'm hoping that everyone who wanted to follow us over, Carl, made it.
Yeah, I hope so, right?
Oh my goodness. But for those of you joining us on the Twitches who were not a part of the glorious webinar that we had this morning, Carl and I did a webinar to quickly go through the components that were just released for Kendo UI in both jQuery and Angular. And this specific Twitch stream, we're going to be diving a little bit deeper into the Angular ones. So yes, I have a demo app as promised. Is there anything?
I'm really excited about this, by the way. I've been promised a lot of ponies and
yeah, no, I mean like
a lot of color.
almost too many ponies. I mean, like if you ever ask yourself, like, is this too much? You know, that's where we're at. So
Impossible. Impossible.
Let me share. Okay, so here is my screen. And I'm actually going to, I like to have the comments up occasionally. So those will go away once I pull up VS Code. But while I'm demoing the app, and you can find this at GitHub. Actually, let me just share that. Just like real quick. So I am Alyssa Michelle on GitHub because who wants to be consistent? I felt really stupid with that one because everything else is Alyssa Nichol, but I actually created GitHub before I was married. So anyways, I wish I could change the username, but it is called Kendo UI Tour of Heroes Releases is the repository. And I am Speedo Girl in the chat. That is my gamer tag. Twitch, I don't know if you know this, was originally a gaming platform. So if you want to find me on Xbox, Speedo Girl, you can play. But there is the GitHub link for what we'll be walking through. And it is this glorious Tour of Heroes, which John Papa originally created. And if you go through the Angular docs and you're looking at how to create your first Angular app, or you're looking into certain scenarios, it always references heroes. And that's because it's from this Tour of Heroes app that John Papa and I think a couple of people might have contributed to. And so I took the Tour of Heroes and I thought, you know, what are my heroes, right? And I love My Little Pony. I love Pinkie Pie. I'm a huge MLP fan. And so I, for better or worse, added ponies into the Tour of Heroes. So here, application, I'm just going to walk through its default.
Oh yeah. By the way, Alyssa, your audio is a little bit muffled, so I'm not sure if like you might have like pressed the
hold. You know what I bet? I bet I'm not coming through the right thing. Hang on, audio.
Maybe because now you're good again.
Am I better?
Yeah.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah,
holler
it just
at
magically
me.
changed.
Oh no.
I wasn't sure if it was your connection or if it was something else. So I just wanted to. But if you speak now.
Let's see. Testing.
Yeah,
That's the thing.
It's great.
We're good? There's no like echo or anything? Okay.
No, not this time. Yeah.
Let me know if it gets weird again.
Yeah, will do. It just decided to put some stress on you. You know, that's all it was.
Also, in the chat, let me know where you guys are watching from. I love to hear where people are at and what time it is for them. I'm in Kansas City, Missouri, and it is 11:35 for me. Carl, what about you?
I'm right outside of Boston, so not in Boston proper, but right outside, and it is 12:35. So during this break that we had, I'm proud of myself because I did this yesterday as well. I heated up a pan, I grilled myself a sandwich, and I ate the sandwich. Now, it's probably more like an indication of how fast I can eat, and that's kind of gross, but I managed to do it all in like 25 minutes.
It was like 10 minutes. Yeah. Sarah's in Florida, 12:35. Olaf is Buffalo, New York, lunchtime. Oh, New York. The last time I was there, I found this salad place. I think it's called like Chopped, maybe. I could be making that up. And it's literally like all of the ingredients that you want for your salad, they take on this huge cutting board and they like cut it up. So it's like all tiny pieces and mixed together. Ooh. It's like my literal heaven, but I'm kind of crazy about salad. Bulgaria myself, so it's evening here. Welcome. And we have the full gambit. We just need like a London and a like
And
an
maybe
Asian
somebody out of
country.
like out of Australia or
Uh-huh.
something like that, right? New
Yeah.
Zealand. I think that I'm trying to think of another like something further west. There's some more islands out there that might even be like right on the
Sarah
date line.
Sarah would know. She's dove them all. So okay, so I'm going to walk through the default functionality of the Tour of Heroes, which I've already augmented. Heyo, Ivana in Bulgaria. I've already augmented a bit with Kendo UI components. So if you're used to the original Tour of Heroes, this is going to be kind of a shock to the senses because of how beautiful it is, but you'll be fine. It's fine. So on the dashboard, oh, you know what? We're going to open up our code. And we're actually, I know you're probably like, what are you doing? App module. I am using the Tour of Heroes by default uses an in-memory web API module to mock data coming from a server, right? And so you can add a delay. And as you see here, I have quite a big 6-second delay. And like, who wants that? We're going to change that back just for this part. But whenever we pull in our loading indicator, our new component, we're going to make that larger. So I have a, what is this called? What is this component called? I'm like super hardcore blanking on it. Drop down list.
Yeah, so that is a drop down list with some filtering.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like it's a drop down, I'm pretty sure. I sometimes
There's so many. Yeah.
Nouns just like whoosh. So you can hop to a specific hero page with this drop down list, or you can filter through the heroes with the filter on there. You scroll down, we've got some top heroes that are here, and I've got a little bit of a pony animation. Not sure if that's coming through. They move up slightly. There's still lots to do with this application because obviously not all of these ponies, like for instance, Fluttershy doesn't look like that. So well, I'm working.
Which we all know. All of us are 100% aware. I mean, I guess to my credit, I know that all these are real My Little Pony names. So there's, I think a lot of them have stuck throughout the years, right? My younger sister loved My Little Pony when we were younger, and I'm pretty sure the names have just stuck. So I
just
think
stuck with you, yeah. So Gummy is actually one of Pinkie Pie's like pet alligator is named Gummy because the alligator has no teeth. And I named one of my dogs that had no teeth Gummy. So it's near and dear to me heart. There's also, in the original Tour of Heroes, there was just super simple, no styling. It said messages, and then it would log as you do things in the application. Like if we go to Pinkie Pie's main page, the detail page for her, it's going to log what we're doing and then back to the dashboard. Or if we're like looking up certain heroes and I like select Gummy, it's like matching pink whenever we were searching. And so this is just messages that you can clear out. And if you clear it, it disappears. So that's what's happening down at the very bottom with these messages. Also, if we go to our heroes page, which is primarily where we'll be living, we're going to add a Carl pony.
Oh, nice.
And if we scroll through this gloriously long list of ponies, you'll see Carl there. And then let's do Sarah pony and an Ivana pony, so that we can just so if we go down to the bottom, we'll see all 3 new ponies, and the messages, yes, added hero with ID of 53, 54, 55. So this is just the default state of this application. All of these are clickable. And some things I've already infused with like over here, Kendo UI components, and other things I have not. So yes, let's go over to the code. And Carl, please, so much pink. Cubs win, Cubs. No, it's an honor to be a pony. Okay, so right, I'm going to show you around the Angular, the Angulars. So here in our app, which I'll make a little bit bigger, maybe. Okay. So the default, we had a dashboard, hero detail, hero search, heroes. We had all of these by default. And of course, I can't live without my Sass. don't get on to me, guys. I can't do it. I can't. It's like regular CSS. I'm like, what am I doing with my life? Like, I can't. So I had to add Sass into it. And then I also, for this release specifically, I added a new module, the R3 2020 module. I know, I'm sure you're like, really? That's what you named your new module? I don't know. I'm really bad at naming, and I didn't want it to hang me up. So that's what I did. And then underneath that module, the main component that captured me was the ListView component. So I made a ListView component with its own component, CSS and HTML files. And then I also, because I didn't think the data that we had was enough, I pulled in, and I haven't used, I need to like really round this out and finish it up. I need to create a card component for these right here and put their styles, put all of that in their own component. And then the second thing that I just want to shout out that I know I didn't do properly was I need to use the in-memory data service for this second data, the second, I don't know what to call this, data chart, because I wanted to have more fields. If we look at my original, I think Hero TS, no, I always get that messed up. Mock heroes. So the original heroes look something like this. They literally only have an ID and a name. And in order to show off all the features of the list view and to kind of build on that, I wanted to add a lot more info. So here's the URL, ponyweb.ml. And then for the API that I use, thank you to the API creator for that. And we have a lot more data that we get to pull in and use besides an ID and a name. And so we'll see that in a second. But onward and outward and leftward. So the first one, you're like, get to
that
it.
That one got me.
Okay, the first one is just a list view, right? Let's get the list view here. Now, I know a lot of people are like, one module, one world, one module, right? And they've only ever worked that way. And obviously, if you can break your code into multiple modules, your Angular codes, then like I've even heard it said, my friend Bonnie, she'll say one module per component. Now, I didn't go that crazy, but I did create a new module, and you might be at that point where like, what the heck, how do I include things? So if I just go over to our docs, which I have grid on development as a bookmark, and then we'll just navigate over to our components. Yeah, we're on there. Oh, sorry. I need to find the list view. I think it's because I have the grid drop down and it's so flipping massive.
Yeah.
There's so many features under the grid.
Yeah.
It's a little overwhelming. Okay, so if we're looking at the list view and we're like, I need you in my life right now, you scroll down and you see the ng add command, which if you have multiple modules, you might be like, what do I do? Well, you can still do the ng add command, but what that command is going to do for you, which this might be basics, bear with me if you know this, is going to slap the list view module and its import into our app module. But if you want that, as the docs say, in your feature module, you can still do the ng add command and just go over to your app module and move the import into the module of your choosing, because we only need this in our R3 2020 module.ts. And so here you can see where I've included buttons, forms, inputs, indicators, icons, and a list view. So a little bit of spoilers as far as what we're covering in this component today. But yes, so I use the ng add command like a sane person, and then I just move those over to the module that I'm inside of. And I have created, you're welcome, snippets for today. So we won't be, I'm going to collapse this just a little. Hey-yo. Yeah, I'm going to just close it. I'm just going to close it. There we go. So here is our plain Jane list view. Plain Jane, because we're not getting into all of the features she has to offer just yet. And double checking. Ooh, shut the front door. Toxic penguin. Oh my gosh. I'm going to die. Toxic Penguin said that you can also specify the module with --module equals app.module, if I'm not mistaken. What? Okay.
Oh.
Carl, did you know that? And also,
no. I did
someone
not.
send Toxic Penguin a prize right now. Just like right now. I'm so amazed. You don't understand how much moving modules around. Like, if you can specify that, like, we can get some clarification in the chat, like if you've done it before. Because if you can just specify that the -- module tag, you know how much easier life just got. Okay. Anyways, so here's our list view, and it's currently pulling in the data of ponies. Now, I know it's a little confusing because all of our data, it all comes down to ponies, right? Ponies is the new data that I showed you that has all of those extra information bits. Heroes is the old ponies. We only have IDs and names. So a little bit of clarification there. If we go ahead and open up our...
So ponies would be me, right? And Sarah and Ivana are new ponies, and then all the pre-determined ponies. Oh, we're the heroes?
You are heroes, yes.
Okay,
so
heroes.
Everything that was default in the application is a hero. So like these tags, like if I go into Carl Pony, all we have.
So whenever you add a pony from the interface,
right, it goes to the heroes.
Okay, perfect. I'm on board.
And then we haven't used them yet, but we are going to start using. I imported ponies from ponies, which is that ponies TS file that I showed you. It's a little bit cheaty, but it's a demo, so give me some grace.
I expect this to be hooked up to like an Azure backend, and so everybody can join in and create their own ponies.
Okay, so here is I know, Carl. I know. I'm ashamed.
I will storm off of this right now.
Here's our public ponies, and yes, I need to give it an interface. I understand. I know what I do wrong. And so this is what our list component is going to use by default, is just plugging in for data ponies. And there she blows. So if we scroll down, I put it, the list view component, if we go over to heroes, you'll see that I added app list view in between this form field here and our mega list at the bottom, which will stay that way. So that is where I imported that component. But for right now, this list view is loading in. I gave it both the name, which you have this option of let data item equals data item, which I could have named that. I probably should name that. I'm just going to show you right now that you can change it to whatever. Oh, actually, it's the other way around. Data item is what I'm going to change it in a second. So we're going to say let pony equal data item is what the component, the Kendo UI component, is giving us. Oh no, I broke it, of course. Did I get it wrong? I'm pretty sure it's let pony. Hold. Data item as pony alias. That needs changed to. There it goes. It's because I did not change my variable everywhere. So whatever you would like to boop, boop. I scroll down. Whatever you'd like to name this variable, the component is giving you data item for each item that it iterates through. And then you can drill down into that and get, I'm getting the name and the alias right now. But if we go to our next example, and I call it the fancy list view. If we save this here and scroll down, you'll see that next to data item, I'm also setting an index because we're being passed that from the component, as well as is first, is last. And so if you go over here, you'll see that this list has the IDs showing up because we're plopping it there. And then we're also setting with this fun logic here. Is it the first? Give it first. Is it the last? Give it last. Otherwise, set it to mid for its position. And so this is useful for things like styling if you need to know if it's the first or the last data item. So I'm going to now, I'm going to comment out as we go, but that GitHub link that I shared that people feel free to reshare for people who have joined in. I actually have the final state, the final glorious state, because we're basically taking this list view and we're evolving it along the way. We're adding to it. We're getting fancy with it. But the last thing that I pushed up yesterday to that GitHub link is like the final state where we're going to land. So no spoilers if you pull it down right now. Header footer. Yeah, you can add a header and a footer. So here we have the exact same Kendo list, but instead of just having an ng template for your Kendo list view item template, right? This is the bulk. If you see that, you think this is the main thing that we're iterating through that has our data item on it. Before and after that, you can add ng templates for Kendo list view header and footer. And so if we go over to here, we'll see that now we still have our scrolling list, but we also have a header and a footer. And if we go and look, we've got like a class of header, class of title, class of footer, class of title. So if we go to, let's see,
by the way, I love that how that declarative layout just makes sense, right? All you're doing is defining that it's the header. You're defining that it's the content essentially, then the footer, and then just automagically stuff gets connected and rendered the right way. And you're using ng templates. Whew.
I know.
Yeah,
I love it. And it's
just
super
makes sense. The
names,
the names are long, but they're descriptive, right? So they make sense when you're reading through it. I love that from a readability perspective is really what it comes down to, I think.
No, yeah, I'm completely with you on that. And the docs actually go into more details than I'm going into. But if you're like me and you instantly say, I need to I need to style this, I just grab those classes and I'm inside of my list view component SCSS here. And that's where, like if I do header footer, my go-to is hot pink. Thanks.
It does fit with the rest of the application.
Oh, I think I need to do important. Hang on. First, the thing I would try to do is like, no. I'm not on the title. See, that's a very big thing. Like, make sure you're on the right element. Like, there we go. So
luckily, we don't have to do important.
No, you should not need to do that. But it was my quick way of saying,
of course, just in case.
Is my specificity high enough, yo? Put it to the max. Okay. So back to our. I don't think I need that open. And I don't need that open. Just a bit of cleanup. Hold with me. Hold, darlings. Okay. And back to our HTML. So let me double check and make sure we covered all the things. Container class. I don't know if you have anything to say about container class, Carl, but it's been a lifesaver for me because sometimes whenever you have a component library and it's rendering this component, the outer like wrapper, like this Kendo list view isn't there anymore, or it's named something differently, or it's nested inside of something else. Once it finally renders that, like plugs everything in. And so container class is a way of preserving your class on the outer container element, which is like PogChamps in the chat. Like it's it's awesome. What else? We've got our header and our footer, which we talked about. And then this is just the fancy one that has all of these variables that the list view is making available for us. So I think we're ready to move on. Next is going to be, I'm going to leave that one up and pull up the next one. Pageable, you say. So here we still have our exact same list view, but we're tacking on a few bit of settings. We have pageable, which we're setting to pager settings, which I'll show you in a moment. And then we also have page size, which is a variable that we're setting. And so if I go over to my TypeScript, you'll see down here near line 54-ish that I have a page size set to 5. This is like how many ponies I want to display, right? 0 through 4. And I also have our pager settings, which is returning the position, previous, next, and the type, which are all set here. You see bottom, previous next is set to true, and then the pager type is set to input. So let's just see it, shall we? Let's bring it up. I'm gonna make it bigger. So this is I just command plused it. So it's a little zoomed in. Things might get a little weird, but I think it'll be easier for you to see what's going on. So we still have our header here with the title that I gave it. And now we still have our footer, but because I set it on the pageable setting to sometimes words. I'm like, what am I wording? I set that to bottom.
The words for like properties and configuration options don't always like make sense saying it out loud, but when you're typing, you're like, it makes 100% sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
pageable.
There we go.
The ability to be paged. Pageable. Yeah, it's weird.
Okay, so we look at the pager settings, and I set it to bottom. But if I change that to top, pip pip, it shall scroll. It'll put it above your header. Also, let's say you have mega mama list that is like as long, as wide as your pages. It's humongous, right? But because your list is so ginormous, you need it to be that big in order to see a reasonable amount of data at one time. You can also say both here, specify the position. And so that way, no matter if you're at the bottom of your page or the top of your page, you have the pager items. Now, some people might be like, that's too much paging in our lives, but it's an option. So bottom.
I think there's never enough paging in our lives.
So here you'll see I set it to 5. So we have 0 through 4 items showing up. And then we're just scrolling through the pages. Let's see. I think we can change our pager type from input to numeric. And that is a dropdown of like the next pages. So I prefer input, but I wanted to make sure and show off. And then, of course, you can turn off previous and next, which I'll turn that off to show. Which got rid of those buttons now. But yeah, so you have like kind of like the simplified, cleaned up version of the pager. And so these are the settings that we're setting in our TypeScript of the component and then passing through straight into the Kendo ListView and binding right there. So I think that's all I wanted to show on this one. I'm going to comment out, commenting out our header footer, scrolling down. This should refresh and only have 1. And then our next example will go next to it. And if you're wondering, how did I achieve such glorious styles? It's just, I think I used Flex. I either used Flex or Grid to say anything inside of here. Right? It's like I was playing around with both, and
magic is what I use.
Here we go. Here's the host item. So this is the root of our app list view component, and we are giving the root of that component grid, display grid, and we're saying I want you to do one FR. So that means the two things in our grid, which I'm toggling between charts, I want you to take up equal amount of space. So that is how that magic is happening. If you're wondering, it's like 3 lines. You're welcome. Okay.
Yeah, life is much easier now trying to center things.
I know, right? Oh my goodness.
Take up equal halves of a screen. Yeah, I'm getting.
I was reading Rachel Andrews' CSS tricks, or not CSS tricks. Her, oh my gosh, it's this line of books that Chris Coyier is like behind, but no, A Book Apart. I was reading her A Book Apart book and about styling, and she was talking about the good old days when you had to position something statically to take up a certain amount of space and give it margin to leave room for a sidebar, and you would position that sidebar into the space that you had left open. And she was like, this is the way you had to do it. Like Flex didn't exist, Grid didn't exist, like even positioning was janky, and if you wanted a header or a footer, like watch out, like it just wasn't possible if you were trying to do that sidebar thing. So I just feel really blessed and spoiled to be in the web world that we are in today. So I know sometimes it feels like the spec moves slowly, which it does for good reason. But we've made strides. We made progress, right?
So much progress. I don't have to wake up in a cold sweat every day, just wondering what issue I'm going to run into today.
Okay, next we have a simple search list view. So I took our list view that you see over here, and I said we need to be able to filter the ponies that we are viewing. So here we have our Kendo text box, which she is brand new. And that's why I'm including inputs into our module. And I'm giving it a placeholder, and I'm setting the change event, handle filter change, passing in that event. And then I'm also turning off the show success icon. So let's just go ahead and look at it in all its glory. And try to filter because we want to see Pinkie Pie only. And they're using the same data set, so that's why we're seeing both change. But don't panic. So if we go to our TypeScript.
By the way, I'm learning so many My Little Pony names. It's great. And that's pushing out like precious childhood memories are right here, and the ponies are coming in, and then the childhood memories are just going out. Yeah.
Well worth it.
Yeah, listen, the next time I'm at a trivia night and they're like My Little Ponies, I'll just stand up and be like, I got this team. And, that's when we finally win one.
What was this? Oh, right. We're filtering. I lost it with the ponies. I went down that rabbit. No, you're fine. Yeah, sometimes it just takes me a while to navigate that. So I wanted to show what's happening behind the scenes. So we're handling this filter change event. We're normalizing the search query with lowercase, and then we're filtering for not only the item's name, but the item's alias, as you'll see here. And I had to do this bit of goodness because not all ponies have an alias. And wouldn't you know it, if you don't check for null, you're going to get those back as real results. So with this line. Yeah. It was like one of those, it took me like forever. I was like, what am I doing wrong? This looks correct. And then it dawned on me, not everybody has an alias, Alyssa. Wow. So that's the pretty short to the point handle filter change event that is plugging in for on ng model change. So this show success icon, let me just show you that real quick. So if I take it away, I haven't set anything too. So if we go to inputs and we find our text box, I will show you what I'm blabbering on about. I think it's form support, possibly. Essentially, we'll do the short version. The show success icon is part of the validation that the text box offers by default. Reactive form, I think it doesn't matter which I choose. So here I'm typing, it's saying you're good to go because this is a required field and the name should be at least 3 letters long. But once I get below 3 letters, it does the warning. And this is possible if we go down to our text box, because here we have show success icon, not set to a Boolean, but set to like logic, right? You would put this in your TypeScript, but you're essentially saying the value's length is greater than or equal to 3, or whatever it is that you need to validate up against. Ours is just a filter, like we're just searching, so there is no right or wrong answer. So I turned off that validation. So yes, that is what is happening here. Let's see.
And you can also do the same thing with the error icon for when you want to display errors. So you can have this middle ground where you don't necessarily have to, like if you go back, you see the show. Oh yeah,
I see
icon.
Show error icon initial.
Yep. Yeah. Ooh, so you can.
Yeah, that should work.
But it does relate a little bit to validation at that point.
I wonder if I actually need to say like the value is greater than.
Yeah, I think you need to have some validation set up for that to display, because otherwise, like the success icon is nice to display, but like the error icon generally, like has some validation kind of thrown in. So I think you need to leave it up for that. But kind of just as a general note, right? You can determine maybe you just want success. You don't want this error icon to appear inside of the input component. You might just want the external validation message to be rendered underneath. You can control that, right? So it doesn't. You have like granular control. Do you want one? Do you want two? Like both for success and for error. It's up to you.
I don't know if this is going quick, but I set value length. I just said V, and then I set the ng module banana binding to V as well. Yeah, I broke the world. I'm sure it's got something to do with.
Point, I think it has to be in a form element as well. So we're like digging more holes, right? Yeah,
Sorry,
for me coming in with a quick lore comment, yeah.
But yes, I wanted to turn that off because I'm not inside a form and I don't need validation on my search. Maybe if my search was like, I don't want any like symbols or numbers in my search, but oh, sorry. It reminds me of a funny story where I was in this room of developers and this person comes in and she's like, I really need this input field to allow numbers and symbols because I was working at a fabric company and they said inches, like the word inches, like many times a day. And like this input field just would not allow like the quotes, like you had to type out inches. And she was like, it just would be marvelous if we could use symbols. And I'll never forget that developer was like, I don't make the rules, I just write the code and you have to type out inches. And I was like, you kind of do write the rules. I was so confused. So anytime so anyways, we're back. We've got our ponies. I
think that's how you accidentally end up with like 6 feet or something as opposed to 6 inches or something though. So
you like the verbosity?
I like that response just for the sake of being like, well, I don't want to be the one that you come to later and say, why do I have 12 feet worth of fabric when I only needed 6 inches if it goes to like
you had
a
one tick
production plan or something
2.
like that. Yeah, exactly. Because sometimes people don't hit shift when they're typing fast, right? So
okay, let's see. I'm gonna comment out because we're moving forward with our list view. Continuing on to see the awesomeness that is the list view. Okay, so the next thing that we have is to show adornments, which Carl, I don't know if you had to like look and see if that was like a commonly used word in the industry, because I know what that word means, but not in the use case of a text box.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, now what now?
Yeah, sometimes naming things can be hard, right? And that's something that the usage of the word adornments might not be standard, but it makes sense once you take a look at it, right? And that's something that, especially writing something for other developers, we try to be as descriptive as possible and try to be like, well, technically this is the word, right? So if we don't find a standard, we set it ourselves, right?
So if you check out
naming stuff is hard.
It is. Like essentially things, it makes sense as far as like you're thinking of accessories, things that are adorning something, right? Like, and this, for instance, our text box is being adorned by these icons, these added things. And so we have, I have my example here where I'm going to pull up the ponies. I have adorned it with the search icon, right? Which something super simple and super small, but it is really useful. I've seen it countless times where people completely miss a feature because they just didn't see it, right? And so having this search icon for this use case is going to be great because it's like right here, filter your ponies. Here's a search. And it was super easy to do. We took the text box that we had already added all of this goodness for the search, and we added ng template with Kendo text box suffix template and gave it the icon that we wanted. But if we go over to the docs, you'll see that there are, make them a little bit smaller. We're using the suffix one because we want it to be after, but there's also prefix ones so that you can get things like before, right? Here's the before, here's the after. And so I don't know if there's anything else that you wanted to add on this part, Carl. It's pretty simple, but it looks great and it works like responsively. It's now a part of your text box with that icon. So
yeah, and because it's a template, right? You can really, again, shove whatever you want in there. Something might break, right? But ultimately, because it's an NG template, you really have a lot of free reign there. So if you want to, for example, have a button in there that somebody can react, click on and everything, right?
right.
You can do that too, and like interact with that, right? So if you're not just looking to
right, because for instance, this one, like these are clickable in like this example, like which makes sense because they're icons, right?
Yeah. And if like the search is how you like actually trigger the search, like it gives you an ability to if you're not typing, filtering as you're typing out, you're waiting for like an enter, somebody could click that little magnifying glass icon too.
That makes sense. I highlighted Stromworks. There are two things hard in programming: cache invalidation and naming things, and off by one errors. I love that joke, and also very appropriate because we're talking about adornments and naming difficulties. So
yeah.
I want to share. We are nearing the end, so if you have, I've got like four or five more examples. But if you have any questions on what we're talking about or things that we aren't covering, just shoot them our way in chat. Or,
by the way, I love that you managed to fit in so many of our new features and components inside the ListView, which is a new component. Like it's very meta.
I'm pretty sure it wasn't
for it because you're. Yeah. It definitely it's working out, and I'm just sitting here impressed by the fact that you're like, I'm going to show the ListView, and then. Bam,
it gets worse. I kept adding. I was like, how many of our new components can I add into our new list view? And then at one point I was like, maybe I should get out of the list view. And I was like, no.
It's working out. It's a very natural addition to the component what you're doing, but it's it took me until now to realize that that you were essentially covering all of it. All you need to do now,
Carl.
Every item should have a grid with cell selection in it, and then after that, I think you've just hit.
And then once we have the Gantt chart in Angular, just that goes
totally
into
Gantt.
Right?
Yeah, every ListView item has a Gantt and a grid. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So far, remember how in the beginning I said that we are working with two different data sets. We're working with the ponies, which have aliases and TV shows and all of the extra information. And then we're working with heroes. And down below, we have this very untouchable, I guess I could say, because there's no way to filter. There's no way to page. There's no way, it's just out of control. This is our heroes. And so my next natural step of looking at this is, cool, we have this data set, but I want my heroes, and not just my heroes, I want the heroes in these custom cards that I created inside the list view. And so if I pull up our next one, which I called custom list view, and it's the shortest amount of code. But here you'll see that we are passing our data heroes instead of ponies. And then inside of our ng template, we have, I said let hero instead of let ponies. And I'm only getting the ID and the hero name because those are the only two pieces of info that we actually have. But I also have the exact same markup. And this is where I said in the very beginning that Alyssa could do better, because this needs to be its own, everything, this anchor and this delete button, that whole thing, basically this right here needs to be its own component. But for right now, I just copied that over and I put the styles in our CSS, put this in here, and then I made sure that our TypeScript was aware. I had the imports it needed to get the heroes. So if we go over to our TypeScript, and I scroll up to the top, I made sure that we are still getting the heroes, and we'll get into what I'm doing with that observable in a minute. I don't need your judgment right now, people. Sometimes people exactly what are you doing there? I'm like, I need you to look away. Look away.
just look away.
Yeah, let's see.
Don't worry about it.
I need you to look away right now. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
There we go.
Do as I say, not as I do, kind of, right?
I'm I'm like, I promise I'll explain what happened there. Like, I will get to it, but you need to like, okay. So we've got our two now. We have our ponies, our heroes, two different charts side by side, well, not charts, list views side by side. And these are selectable. So like we go to Filthy Rich, we'll see the Filthy Rich detail page. Should have like legitimately, if I had like 2 more hours, breadcrumbs. Breadcrumbs is where I was going because our new breadcrumb component is beautiful and I need it in my life, but she's not there yet. But yes, and then you can also delete ponies from here. At least I think so. Oh, I might not have plugged in that functionality because I'm pretty sure my delete button, yeah, it works down here. Whoops, I shall need to plug that in. But the style is how I wanted it, and it's inside the Kendo list view. So I was just so pumped about that because, as Carl was saying earlier, it's really, really customizable. If we go to our list view, I think overview might have it, where it goes into just the different looks that your list can have and what you can use them for. I think paging might also have some special, yeah. So like these cards look totally different than the first ones, and they're implementing paging differently than we implemented it. So there's a lot of customizability and like features around the list view. I didn't mean to make R3 all about the list view, but I did. So
Hey, you're showcasing
okay.
it for a list and your using templates. It all makes sense for what you're doing. Yeah.
Okay, I forgot this next part. The badge container. Okay, so here we're going to keep our list view. I'm not going to comment it out, but we're going to replace this image here because we need to put it inside of our badge container because I wanted to give, badge. Yes, I wanted to give the images in our brand new custom list view the little badge on the top corner. I think I put it on the top right. And so if I save this and I go back over and you're like, what is happening? You will see I plugged in the IDs of each of the ponies as a badge. And the badge is one of my favorites. I put the cutout border true, but this is a good time for me to take that off and show you what it looks like without the cutout border. So there's no white like inset around it, which I think personally it like elevates the badge and it makes it like that much classier. So I'm totally leaving it on. You also have small, medium, and large. So let's just like go straight to large, shall we, and see what that looks like. Gorgeous, right? Like they weren't kidding when they said large. But I know for things that aren't, because right now we're working with a teeny tiny avatar on a pretty small card component, but for things that are larger, large will work perfectly. And then as I talked about during our webinar, we have a whole theming system. And so not only can I say things like dark and light, but I can also pass in like my primary theme color. But for now, I'm going to stick with dark. And I have all these shapes in here because I didn't want to forget any. So if I put this on the right side of my screen and I put this on the left side of my screen, and then I horizontally scroll, forgive me for that. It shouldn't exist that way. I'll fix it later. You should never have, if you ever find yourself horizontally scrolling on your site, you know you've done something horribly wrong. Like media queries, please. Thank you. Okay. So right now we have the shape of, all these shapes. And as you know, the last one listed out is going to be the one applied. So we're currently looking at rounded, which is a rounded rec. If we take that one off and save it, we will get the squared off rectangle. And then pill is next up. I just wanted to show all these shapes because they make me so happy. What is wrong with my pill? Hang on. Hold. Main. Oh, it's because my content's not long enough. I'm like,
Exactly.
That looks almost circular. Okay, if we go to where I'm adding the hero ID and we say la 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 la, there we go, because that makes sense. There we go. There's pill. I'm actually going to make it make sense just so that ID. There we go. Okay. So now we are showing off the pill shape, and put that on the left side of my screen. Thank you, darling. Circle. Boop. So it's cutting off, but it actually, for my purposes before, sans pill, worked pretty well. I liked circle the best, I think. I'm conflicted because, you know, once it gets to 2 numbers, it looks a little off-centered, but rounded, I don't know, I'm more of a circle fan. And then once you get to dot, that's for things like on your phone. If you have like a notification on something, it might just have a dot without any information inside of it. So it's even smaller, which for our purposes, of course, we're trying to list out the hero ID. So dot doesn't work for this case, but I did want to show it because there was a moment of confusion where I was like, where did my text go? And it's because a dot is not meant to be filled with information. It is just there. You can, of course, change its shape and color. And so I want to go back to I want to see rounded, I think that one was the best for what we're doing. Although I really love circle.
Well,
anyway.
you know, yeah, it depends on how you want to look at it from a style perspective, right? Because like rounded is already what you have in the overall template, right? But the circle does give a nice little kind of unique shape and kind of cutout to the intersection between what you have on the left and right hand side.
So that is our badges. I did want to cover, I have a call out here for me to go to indicators. If you're looking for badge, the badge and the loader are under indicators. And I wanted to go to appearance. Main. Pardon my slow network. Streaming is not, it is not kind. So yes, these are basically what we just went through. The theme colors, the shapes, the sizes, and we didn't cover fill, but you can do not only solid, which is what we're going with, which is the default, but you can set the fill equal to outline as well. And then the cutout, which I will never get rid of. I will never forsake you, cutout border. So yes, I think that's all on the badge. We have the next step was, what if your internet is super slow, right? Like maybe not yours, maybe the person using your product, right? Like somebody's network is going to be chuggy. So let's go back to blah, blah, blah.
And that's also, by the way, true for internal applications, depending on where you're pulling from. It might not be something that's super quick. It might not be a local database. It could be a service that, God forbid, queries with XML or something crazy like that. So you gotta watch out.
You sound like you have horror stories to share.
Oh yeah, many, and you know, I that's not even for an enterprise application. That's like for like an app where, you know, maybe 10, 15 people are using it, and it's still you know.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so we have a question. Benaz. Sorry, you can correct me. I'm sure none of those were correct. I can't seem to find any documentation on virtual scrolling for the ListView component. Is this functionality present in the component? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a great question. So right now, the answer to that is no. And the reason for that is when we have all these template-driven things through the ListView, virtualization isn't necessarily as straightforward as you might think. Because, like, let's say we talk about the grid, right? There we specify row height in order for us to be able to, when we populate the scroll bar over on the right-hand side, to give the user an indication of, okay, you know, you have 100,000 items, so this is roughly how much you have to scroll. And there's also something in terms of the calculation for ensuring that you have a smooth scrolling. And it's a little bit easier with the grid because you know what rows look like. The list view, you can literally throw anything you want into it. So we're still trying to figure out how we can approach virtualization there because it's honestly a non-trivial problem to solve. Just because if we said, well, if you only use this kind of template, maybe we could get away with it. But of course, if we have virtualization for one kind of template, everybody will want to have it for their kind of template. So we're trying to see if there's an elegant solution. So What
Nice.
we've done
Okay.
instead is the endless scrolling. So essentially, as you scroll to the bottom, it will load more information, which is something that you've seen on pages like eBay, for example. They might not have that anymore. They might have changed a little bit of the UX, but for a very long time they had that when you were loading more. So instead of paging at the bottom, you'd scroll to the bottom and then it would load the next page, and you'd end up with this big page. Same thing with, again, Etsy, Pinterest, these kind of pages where they, even though they know they have a card layout, the cards might be at different sizes. They also tend to lean on endless scrolling as opposed to virtual scrolling. So it's a very long answer to that, which is essentially a no. But just to give everybody a little bit of a peek behind the curtains, it's a tough problem to solve generically across the board with a component like this. So that might take us a little bit just to figure out the best way to approach it.
Very cool. Yeah, and I think Stephen once put it, make sure you need virtual scrolling before you use it. Because sometimes when you over optimize, you make things more painful for your users and you might not have been solving a problem that existed. But I do get
Yeah.
that sometimes there are some mega lists that
Yeah,
are like,
and I mean, we see that in the grid, right? And not just for rows, but also columns. So it's completely understandable that in some scenarios, folks might just want to display all the content and be able to scroll through it, or just, I'm dealing with a lot of data. Default is virtualization, right? Is going to be the default. But especially with the list view, like when you have something like this with maybe some interactivity, it might be tricky to have 100,000 items all loaded. And have the user be able to handle that well, right? But that being said, that's not an excuse. We, of course, there are certain requirements that our developers have that they want to be able to implement with our components. So it's an active investigation. Just didn't make it into V1 at this point.
okay, very cool. I wanted to, the very next thing that I was pondering was what if the network was crazy slow, or like you said, something was jank with the server and you're just getting data back incredibly slow. So as I mentioned before, the Tour of Heroes application is using the in-memory data service by default. And what that one thing that means is that inside of our root app module, when we are right here specifying this in-memory web API, we can also add a delay. I think it's 500 milliseconds by default, but we want to bump that up to 6,000, which I'm pretty sure if I refresh, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So maybe I counted fast. And there it
You need
is.
the Mississippi's in there.
So this is in milliseconds, of course, but you can add a delay. But you might be like, why are you doing this to us? But that is because I wanted so badly to show off our other indicator, because I just used badges, but I wanted to show off our loader, and which is new as of this release. And it makes a lot of sense especially if you have one of those megalists that we're talking about. And so if I go add loader for slower data, loader? Yeah. I was like, I don't remember what I called it. I called it loader. So here we have, I'm going to comment out this list view. Yeah, making sure I'm not coming in multiple channels. Okay. So here we have our list view that's pulling in the heroes data. And inside of it, I gave it a header. And this is where I'm saying ng if loader. So if that Boolean is true, my data is still loading. And I want you to go ahead and make sure this header with the loading more pony data is visible along with, and I did the infinite spinner. So we can go, and actually what I'm going to do, just because I'm just going to set this to true in the ngIf so that it's always there. So right now, so we can just like stare at it for more than 6 seconds. But essentially this is the header saying loading more pony data, and it's got our infinite spinner. And let me show you in the TypeScript. Oh, not that one. Boop-a-doo. Paging for list views. Oh, I don't think it's going to be. Sorry, I'm trying to think of which file. So we added the 6. Oh, yes. So we added the 6 seconds. And then inside of this one, I just literally created the loader Boolean of true. And it was our get heroes, which is where I told you to hold up, wait a minute. Because inside of the subscribe, on next, I am setting self.heroes equal to heroes. But on complete, this is where I can go ahead and set the loader to false. So turn it off. So if we go back over and we reset the ng if finding it, sometimes my brain just like, I can't find it.
It doesn't help that the helpful tip and tooltip that showed up blocked it too.
Blocked it. Okay, so we go back over and we see our loader. Once we have pony data, our header should go away with our loader. So voila. I have we do have optimizations. I think. What are the other types? Words. I think there's a. I've got to look it up.
Yeah. Pulsing is one, and then converging, I believe, is what we call the other one. They're again. Naming things is hard. We had a lot of different designs, so you probably will see some additional loaders in the future, right? Type of loaders. But there was a committee of people trying to figure out how to name certain things.
I always wonder that. I'm like, is there like this whole, like for the next release, for instance, I'm sure there's like a list of components that are already being worked on, but for the API itself, is there like this massive doc that's like, we're going to call it this, and this, and then it just like goes through committee. Like how does that process work for Kendo UI?
Yeah, it depends a little bit, but generally there are of course a lot of people that take a look at that. So we come up with the spec, and then there's a review process for the spec to make sure that we cover all the scenarios that we're looking for, and if there's any additional properties or configuration options that we want to expose, and then as a part of that review, we also look at the naming. And if, sometimes we might look into what are, kind of the standard naming for either an API or even a component, right? But there might be some other naming conventions that don't exist that we then have to kind of, invent. And at that point, there might be people that ask for input, or we give the thumbs up on the proposed names in the spec. So it's not always an exact science, but at least we have that process of ensuring that we have at least a couple of eyes on it to make sure that we don't come up with some random names that don't make sense.
Random Factor said we need a prancing spinner and a trotting spinner and a galloping spinner.
Yeah,
for the
if
ponies.
there's anything I've learned from today, and also just existing on Code It Live whenever we do live streams, is we need a chicken animation, and we need a prancing or galloping pony now.
Yeah,
as
there
well.
You go. Yeah. It just makes me think of the coconuts.
Yeah. Come on, prancing. Yeah, that's honestly the third time today somebody's referenced Monty Python, so I might have to watch Monty Python tonight just because of that. It's a sign.
I just wanted to show you that, like, the size and the color, and she's all customizable.
Yeah. Also, Ed mentioned in the comments, Kendo.name this thing for me, foo, and how you can pass something in. I think that we need to copyright that immediately and sell it as a service. I think.
Oh my god. Okay, so we are nearing the end. I have one last thing to show. So if you have questions, please shout them out. We will take time. If you're eating something really delicious right now, put that in the chat. Like I'm up for chatting, right? Like anything. Okay, icons. So the next thing that I wanted to do. The next thing, it's the last thing. Here we go. Icons everywhere. So inside of we have an icon and an SVG icon component that's brand new. If you go under our components and you look for icons, they're there. And we just check out the overview to show off those two. So I know I actually wanted to ask you about this, Carl, and I'm like totally putting you on the spot, and I apologize. I wanted to find a way of including icons, but there's like a million spots in my app that we can do that, not only inside of the ListView header, which is where I put one. But the differences between the two, because like if we go to getting started with the font icon, I think it somewhere talks about, or maybe it was the SVG, somebody talks about the benefits of using like one over the other. And I didn't know, maybe it was the overview for both. No, dependencies, maybe. Package export, no. But I was pondering, which one do I use? What do I want to do? I know that, I mean, obviously the appearance is the same because we can customize. It's the same icon set that we're pulling in. But I'm thinking like for font icons, especially if you want things to scale, like with font size, like if you're changing your theme and all of a sudden your font size needs to be doubled or something, I think an icon font might be easier to use in that case. But I didn't know if you had anything else to add.
Yeah, so there's a couple of different things that you can get into. I think that it's kind of more like what are you using in your application like today, right? Do you prefer to use font icons or SVG icons? But I know, so this is actually something that I did a talk a couple times last year around PWAs and like things that you need to keep in mind for when building PWA. So like JavaScript bundling, different kind of image types that are out there now that like WebP, and is it WebP that's the most recent one? No, it's another one. Anyways, there's a new format that just came out that kind of replaces WebP, things like that. And font icons and SVG icons actually have some pros and cons as well. So like there are things that you can like argue, like file size, for example, like and then also if you do like inline SVG versus an external SVG icon, like things like that can, like that's kind of close, but I believe that for like accessibility items or issues specifically, SVG is a little bit more accessible because they're, if I recall correctly, SVGs essentially end up getting treated a little bit like images in browsers. So that means that like you can, and also has YARIA attributes you could utilize in order to be able to make the SVG icons a little bit more accessible. Scalability is, of course, like you said, you can work with scalability when it comes to like your font size, but SVG icons should, I think, scale a little bit better in terms of like sharpness and things like that. It's a little bit easier to work with. And animations, if you eventually want to animate these things, like we don't, as they are right now, you're not animating them, but SVG is a lot easier to animate as well.
For sure, especially if you do inline and then you have like those different nodes, access to those in your CSS. So
yeah, exactly. And so that's what I have off the top of my head. I'm trying to like go back to like a year ago when the last time I gave the talk, but I know that there are,
we like out of the box we have both right now.
Yeah, exactly. So it's more, we're not playing favorites, we're letting people decide what are they using.
Do you know if they're both they are both referring to like the same list? Like you don't have more SVG icons than you do font icons, correct?
Correct.
Everything I tried from if you go to our docs underneath styling and themes, we have an icons list there. So everything that I tried from that list worked. And so I was like, I think they both.
I can't think of anything that stands out, but of course, my asterisk next to that is I haven't like gone through and like created an app and I'm like render all 400 of our font icons and render 400 SVG icons to see which break. But yeah, that's by the way, I should mention that for like diving into font icons versus SVG icons, you can also go find a lot of articles that like debate that back and forth. So that talk about pros and cons of it. So if you want to get into more than me desperately trying to scrape my memory bank of the pros and cons, and Ed is, by the way, providing a little bit more information as well.
I know there's a reason though. I know that they scale infinitely, but I thought there was for sure reason for using font icons over SVG. I just can't. I don't know it off the top of my head, but Ed is definitely on the vendor side of this. So rah SVG. Okay, here is the exact list view with our loading indicator. But next to the loading message, I went ahead and added the I added this data icon. I honestly couldn't figure, like, I kept going back and forth. I was like, I could try the connector one, I think is what it's called. It's just like symbol, like we're connecting to the server, like, or like the refresh one. But I put it in the chat. All of our icons are listed out here under our styling icons in the docs. And there's different categories that you can jump to. But for instance, we've got this reload small. So if I go here and I try to plug in the name of, instead of connector, reload -sm for small, watch it not work. There, it plugs in that icon. And so they should all work. Right now I'm using Kendo -icon, but if we hop over to, I'm going to put two side by side. I don't remember the name. Is it just Kendo SVG? Let's go to components and then icons. SVG icon
SVG
getting.
icon, yeah.
Is it -SVG? Yes, Kendo SVG icon.
Yep.
So -SVG -SVG, and let's put it something. Make it something different, like connector. And go here. No. All right, hang on. Hold. Oh, it's because it doesn't take the name. It takes icon that it binds to, I believe. Oh, hold. Okay, let's see. We have to bind to icon. Oh, but you have to have icons.paperclip. Really? Really? I'm so glad we're doing this because I'm learning. I haven't played with the SVG ones yet, just the normal icon.
And because that's not a string, I think you can drop the single quotes.
Thank you, darling. Ah!
Oh, now it just broken its then. Is there an icons?
I'm gonna try paperclip, just to like make sure I'm not trying an icon that doesn't exist. Okay, no, it's good. It's
maybe there's a icons variable in the demo that we're not.
You know what? I bet it's because I didn't go to the list view.
Did you import it?
Yeah. See, I think that's part of the problem here. It's not going to be here. Sorry. Let's go to the module. Well, so I included icons, which has both. I think that's all you need to do, correct? I think. I'm pretty sure. Pretty positive. I'm going to just copy this in case there's some weird
on my side as well.
I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to figure this out. Okay, let's see. Small instant spinner. Take that away. Paste that instant icon. Also, let's open up.
This is the component that I just checked the icon. I didn't even jump over to the SVG icon as I was playing around with this right before the release. So now both of us get to debug this as we're taking a first look at it.
Paperclip is undefined. Sorry, I was distracted by chat. They're talking about vectors.
Yeah,
Ed is making people angry. Public icons equals. Okay, what?
Yeah.
What? I'm confused.
I think if you just write in, I don't know if you have to add icons ahead of that, honestly. No, see, I figured it out. So if you check out at the top of the view sample in the first overview sample that we have for the SVG icon, we import paperclip from Kendo SVG icons.
Oh, that's because we don't want to import every SVG under
exactly.
the sun.
Exactly. And then in our component, we just say public icons, which right now is just an object that holds a single thing. But if you wanted to do multiple icons in there, right, it sets you up so that you could potentially pull in and say, icons dot paperclip dot whatever you might want, right?
I understand. That's
Yeah.
okay. Thank you so
Yeah.
much because I was
Oh
so
yeah.
I was like, but obviously with the so I think that might be part of the flexibility of the font icons because it's a font that you're downloading, so you've got all
Yeah.
the
It's a
icons
part of the
easily
font.
smaller
Yeah.
size. Whereas SVG, you're going to want to specify in this object like exactly what you're like instead of public icons paperclip, it would be paperclip and this and that, like exactly what you need for your application. So I love it. Paperclip. Let's get paperclip showing just to prove that we can icon. Yes,
We
yes.
can do it.
There she is. Thank you for that, Carl. I was like,
Yeah.
why don't I have access to every SVG under the sun? What? Okay.
No, that's fun because now both of us got to experience, and the people on the stream got to experience what it looks like to try to figure things out live while in the documentation. So
I want to try. I know it's probably going to be painful, and you're like, "Why are you doing this to us, Alyssa?" But I just want to see if I can get the connector one. Loader. Where is it? This one. Connector. Connector. Did it give it to us? No. I'm gonna go find it. I think I might have the name wrong. Icon list. Oh, there they are. SVG icons. Aren't they beautiful?
yeah,
So I think it is a different list. Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe I just haven't gotten to the COs yet.
it's a big one. Yeah, it is connector.
Where is it? Where you found it? Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Oh, I always break everything, Carl. All right, I'm going to. So they're importing the SVG icons component. Oh wow, look what they're doing. Import all as all icons. Wow.
Yeah, so that way you can spit them all out if you like
Spit
to.
them all out. Yeah. And then they're giving object.keys this icons. And then I'm assuming in the where is it? Where's my HTML? My HTML. Why? It's the component. There it is. Yeah. And then I'm gonna just open it in Stacklets because I can't handle this view any longer. Anywho, while that's loading, there is. I want to go back over here and put it back on paperclip because I definitely don't want to load all of them.
Yeah, I'm wondering why connector isn't working as easily as paperclip because it's the same name.
Paperclip icons. I'm wondering if I just messed up the name. The name. I need to put this here instead. It said the Kendo icons are TTF, I believe. Is he giving me the file type? Oh, he was talking to someone else.
Yes. Yeah, for the font icons.
I was like, do I need to know the file type?
No, not in this case. It's more what you pull down when you load the font icons.
Okay. Icons, paperclip. I think I'm just going to leave it with, I don't want it to actually be reload small. What did I start with? Let's change it.
You had the data, right? With
data.
Like the
yes.
check. I forget the name of that one, but a check after it too. Is it just called data?
I don't remember, but I need to, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to erase this icon, pull that back in, validation data.
Validation data, there you
go. Okay. But yes, if you pull it down, if you pull the GitHub codes down, that should be, this should be what you see as the final ListView product of the day. Oh, I think I messed up something in the TypeScript. What did I do? We're not using that anymore. Thank you, Connector, for your love and support. I think we're good. But maybe, hold. Oh, also, we should definitely go and reset the the load time to not be 6 seconds by default. That's there so you all can experience the loader.
Yeah.
But I think as far as the demo goes, this is all I have for you. I think the next steps for me are I'm going to create these as a card component, and I'm going, oh, did we not turn the loader off? Hold. Where's the loading?
Yeah, it's up
Yep.
there. You have the ng if you just set to true.
There we go. Perfect. So yes, turn those pony cards into an actual card component that's reused throughout the app. And also, of course, get my pony data being used through the in-memory data service so that everything is consistent. But right now, you can check this out on the GitHubs. I'll pull that up one more time. But Carl, anything else? And please, questions in the chat if you have any. Thanks for sticking with us today. It's been a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun going through all these ponies. I'm probably sounding sarcastic as I say that, but honestly, now I just learned so much.
So this is Kendo UI Tour of Heroes releases. So this is where every release I'll be updating our Tour of Heroes app with our new Kendo UI components. So I shall share that in the chat for your viewing pleasure. But I think we covered most of it. I mean, the breadcrumbs and AppBar, those two I need to make sure happen in the pony
I need
app.
to throw those in there. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Wow. I think we should plug Devrage.
Yeah.
Maybe before we head out. So Devrage is coming up less than 3 weeks. And if someone could please put a Devrage link in the chat, I'm going to actually pull it up on my end so that I can show you all. Devrage is a conference that Progress is putting on, but there's a specific Angular day of Devrage. And let me share my screen with you beautiful people. Yes, October 19th through the 23rd. But specifically, the 22nd, my darlings, is when you'll want to tune in. I have talked to all of my Angular friends, and I've gotten an incredible lineup here of speakers. The list is I'm going to make it a little bit smaller so we can see everybody. And it's going to be actually a really unique, really unique day where it's a relay because we're taking this Tour of Heroes app that I've modified with My Little Pony, and we are passing it from speaker to speaker as they add something new of their own that they want to show off. So things like testing, HTTP interceptors, et cetera, et cetera. So it's going to be a really, really cool day. There's also going to be a mukbang with the Angular Air crew. Right here at the bottom, Justin, Bonnie, and Mike, they're all going to join me for a brunch break where we're going to be eating and chatting it up and talking about the community. And then all the other speakers are going to be doing, along with the Angular Relay, there'll be a small portion of their time that's dedicated to kind of a personal interview. So I know some of these are really big names in the community, and I thought it might be neat to find out, just get to know them on a non-code level. So yeah, please join us for Devrage this year. It's in 3 weeks. It's going to be epic. Yeah, that is my don't miss it pitch.
Yeah, it's an important thing to not miss.
But yeah, thank you all so much for hanging out with us this afternoon, and if you were with us during the webinar as well. I think we're going to raid somebody. Sarah, I don't know who we're raiding. Maybe we're not raiding. Maybe we are raiding. I think our channel is going to raid another channel if you're new to Twitch. So yes, awesome. Very cool. Well,
Who be raiding? Yeah, I'm looking at the chat. The suspense is killing me. Yeah.
Nice. One Kev Griff. I love it. So we are going to raid them, and I will end our portion of the stream. But check out Devrage and every UI Wednesday. I'm on 3 p.m. Eastern doing UI fun on this channel as well. So thank you all for joining us. Have a wonderful afternoon, morning, whatever time it is.
Evening, yeah, midnight.
Right? Whatever it is, I want you to have a good one. That's Okay. There we go. All right. Thank you so much. We're about to go raid them. So, signing off.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.